you this afternoon?
Good, how are you?
Doing well.
See.
It's the bank right there. Yeah. There's one right here.
Yeah.
Okay, this is information system. It's number 18 in your tab. Anybody have any questions over that, or?
You got wet rag.
What? Only one real simple change, an increase of $20,000 to buy additional licenses for Kronos, the nation's employee timekeeping system. So James is here, Chief Information Officer, in case you have any other questions.
Have any questions? Okay, appreciate you. Okay, next will be career services.
Diane was here all morning.
She was. Let me skip her and I go ahead. Gary, why don't you come on up? We're ready for yours. And when Diane gets here, we'll go back to her.
I won't be quite as long as Diane.
So as you know, the budgets for the Housing Authority are pass-through budgets, sub-grants of our NAHASTA funding. And so, we receive it here at the nation, then we pass through to the Housing Authority for the delivery of services. And so, if you have any additional questions, I'm sure Gary can answer those.
It's all NAHASTA grant funding, so it's all based on the Indian Housing Plan that you just,
Okay.
we asked for no trouble.
Any questions for Gary? Counselor Lay.
Thank you. Madam Chair. Gary, I always talk to you about for the rental areas, for get something going, and I think you're working on it.
Are working on it right now. Working on it right now, along with some quite a few other projects. But yes, that your request is at the top of the list.
Is that going to have to be a grant, or do you have?
No, it'll be funded out of the NAHASTA grant. It's an eligible activity, and after looking at it, I'm certain we can fund it out there. And we've done that. We was waiting for this year's funding we had done, and we try to do some like good projects that benefit the folks in different areas. Like I think up in Councilor Buzzard's and in Councilor Taylor's area last year, we did a couple of playgrounds. It's just one of those things, since it's family units, that it helped out those areas, and up in your area and a couple of other areas we're looking at some type of storm shelter.
Let me ask you, and I just heard some of this a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
About tax credits. I think CMB had some tax credits at one time they sent to Oklahoma City for a construction of something. I think it was a small clinic, I'm not sure. Could you utilize those?
Now, I don't know. The only tax credits I know that they've gotten, and I could be wrong, are like new market tax credits, and I don't know enough about those to have any idea whether or not it is something that could be utilized for what they can be utilized for. In the past, we've utilized what's called low-income housing tax credits, but those are totally separate tax credits, and there's a totally different way of applying for those, and so on and so forth. So I would hate to answer that because I don't know enough about the kind of tax credits they got to get.
And that gives me another question. The senior housing at Stillwell, is that yours, or is that under your?
Yes and no. It is a low-income housing tax credit project. So it does sit on land that we own, but the land is leased to a Stillwell Senior Housing. It's because it is a low-income housing tax credit property. There's some there's a corporation. There's a 501c3. There are certain requirements that have to be met. So no, I mean, yes and no. We are a general partner in that, but no, we don't operate it. We don't manage it. It's managed by an outside third-party company because we're just simply a partner in that until the tax credits expire after In most cases, 15 years. Now, I couldn't tell you because it could be different on each individual property.
Does that revert to you at that time total?
After that, it does. After, in some cases, it's 15 years. I think in a couple of cases, it's 15 plus 5.
Could those ideas be used in the other counties?
In some counties, they can be. In some counties, they can't be. For a low-income housing tax credit project, that is a pretty competitive funding source. And also, you have to identify areas that is in order to get the points you need to even qualify or even get in the top tier, you have to be in what's called a qualified census tract. So there are certain counties in the Cherokee Nation that doesn't have a qualified census tract anywhere in their county. There are certain counties that do, but it's only in one region where, you know, I've seen it make everywhere from, you know, a U to, down in the Salisaw area, it pretty much goes around the whole town of Salisaw, but maybe just takes in a small strip. So it's different in every individual area, but, and for instance, your counties, last I checked, which hadn't been that long ago, there was no qualified census tracts in like Nowata County or Washington County.
Yeah. Know what is affected by Barnesville?
Yeah,
We found out.
yeah.
The other types of tax credits, like CMB had, can you take those and utilize those to build a senior housing complex?
Again, I don't know. I can't answer that because I don't know enough about what type of tax credits they have or what they can be used for. So, I mean, I can tell you, I mean, I'd be happy to look into it, but I don't know enough about it to know one way or another. I don't know what restrictions or what requirements there are with it or anything other than that. I know, for instance, the low-income housing tax credits, we have to put a plan forth that says, here is what these tax credits are going to be used for. And that's the only thing that they can be used for.
But that's what you're used to working with, low income.
Low-income housing tax credits, which is a totally different deal. It's funded, it's tax credits that the Oklahoma Housing and Finance Agency receives.
And thank you, appreciate it. I guess I got a little strayed there for just a minute, but
That's a good question.
Joe and Denise, if you guys could, you know, the two top chairs, I guess, if you could ask CMB, do they still have any tax credits? Can Gary or can the tribe utilize those for housing,
Okay.
especially senior apartment complexes?
Okay.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Okay, Harley?
Gary, back to the senior housing. Can you check for me and see when those credits are completed in Delaware County there at Jay?
I can't,
I've been there probably 12 years.
yeah, it's only been about, I think those actually it's been, yeah, I think a little bit less than 12 years.
I'm just curious when that's gonna run out, when they're going to take over. 'Cause my concern is after 15 years, then we're gonna be strapped with a lot of maintenance problems, such as roofs. You know,
No,
just
there's
roof.
a reserve account for
There
things
is,
such as that.
there is a capital, sinking fund. Yeah. The other thing is on the Title VI money. Notice you always budget dollars for Title VI.
We do.
Can you explain that a little bit better for me? Because what I understand, that is a self-back pay program for the participants.
It is.
Still you budget, why do you budget that? Losses?
Yes, well, part of it's for that, but the other reason why is because whenever, of course, interest rates are a little bit different now.
Yeah.
But whenever the program was first done under the former chief's administration, the interest rate we charged families was lower than what we were charged for interest. So that is what most of that was used for, was to bring down, was to lower the interest rate on the interest we charged the home buyer or the participant on that program, because it's a traditional type mortgage program. And the way Title VI works is we use our Indian Housing Block Grant as the collateral for that program. So then it is an eligible activity to pay back part of that. So we've always budgeted, but you'll notice if you look back over the years, I think it used to be $1 million plus, and now it's down quite substantially. And it reduces every year.
Every year it goes down.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I saw
Yeah.
that and I didn't know how those exactly work.
And that's really why it's to help lower what
Yeah.
the interest rate we charge people. Because we only charged them 4%, but back whenever we got the loan, I want to say in like 2001, the interest rate was probably over 6.5% at that time.
So that's an adjusted interest.
Yep, yep. So that's mostly what that payback was used for,
Okay,
well, and why it's in there.
okay.
Any other questions for Gary?
Gary, are we able to address more of the needs of the people that did not have lands to build houses on? Because I know the ones that moved up to the top are the ones that
Had land.
had access to lands. And some of that was good, but some of it was not, because a lot of our people did not have access to lands.
Yeah, we are working on it. We continue to work on it with, as we mentioned, I don't know, it's been several months ago with CNB with the help of them. They're working on finishing up a project over in West Salome. I think they're working on a project down at Roland, and Mr. Thornton can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think maybe Vian. So yes, there is. So we've been kind of working with them, and we've also identified a couple of tracts of land in different areas, land that Housing Authority had in its inventory that couldn't be used, or also land that we have found at a reasonable cost
Okay.
to purchase.
Okay. We're going to address it this go.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Do you want to talk or you want? I'm not. Okay, yes. Okay, thank you, Gary. No
Thank you all.
further questions for you. Okay, and Diane is here. So we're gonna skip back to career services.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the council. You have our budget that was presented, Treasurer Horn, and I'll entertain any questions that you may have regarding it.
No questions for Diane?
I just had
Go ahead.
a comment, on vocational training. How much money do we have? Is that flat this year?
What we did in the vocational training is we combined our nursing program, all of our vocational programs, we put them all in one area, so that would give us some more diversity as far as assisting the clients.
Was that budget flat this year?
It was flatlined, yes.
What was that? I don't have,
Vocational work prep. Let's see here. We took the tribal nursing in the 1010567 and 101,569, which was vocational assistance, vocational work prep. We combined them.
Oh, okay, that's the reason the increase you're
Yes,
showing.
yes.
Okay. Is that, do you, and I know we usually run out of funds on the vocational side as far as plumbing, electrical, and stuff like that. And nursing, do you think that'll be the same this year, or?
I'm pretty sure that it will be, because there is a shortage of some of the health professions, especially in the nursing area. And we usually assist a lot more people in the health areas than we do in just about any area because of the job market that's out there. And we've got some diversity with our tarot program and with this new grant that we got. So we're hoping that we'll be able to put some of the hard trades over in those areas and utilize our vocational training for
Well,
some of the softer ones.
You know, I know we put and I'm not against putting more money in education, but I think we need to look at more money for vocational. This seems like every year we're running short on the vocational dollars. And $13 million for higher ed versus $500,000 for BOEG is just completely out of kilter to me. But anyway, I'd like for us to look at that. Sure we have enough for our people to go. And as you know, a lot of our Indian kids go into the vocational program, to higher education.
Well,
So
there is the when you look at this budget, we prepared it in May, and so actually, we didn't actually have the 6.5 million that we got through Department of Labor, which is not on there. You'll see that coming up in October. So that may offset some of that training, those training dollars, although they're gonna have to be long-term unemployed in order to access those dollars. But afford us an opportunity to see if we can tap into those dollars, the federal dollars, before we actually come back and ask you for some through the tribal.
Well, that's good. I hope we can do this.
That was the whole purpose of us going after the grants, so.
Exactly.
Okay, well, that's good. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And I just have a couple of comments. One of them is I'm glad to see the increase in the reintegration program. And the second one is I am always amazed at how Diane can find the dollars to train somebody if they actually want to go to work, and I appreciate that too.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I wanna say thank you to Chief Baker and Treasurer Horn, because that was one of the things that he had talked to us about with the reentry. And somewhere along there, we didn't get it down there where it needed to go, and we got that taken care of. And I appreciate all that he and Treasurer Horn did for us.
I think your department has done an amazing job with that. What was it, $20,000 that
Yes,
that
ma'am.
program was started with? And so you've proven to be faithful in little, and so we expect great things with this.
But we're going to apply for some federal dollars this next year. There is a lot of opportunities out there, and once we establish that foundation with this monies, that will help us to get our foot in the door for other monies to come.
Okay, very good. Counselor Buzzard, did you have something to add?
Diane already made a good point out of using that $6.5 million. And you're right, the only thing, they have to be unemployed for a certain amount of time, and I can see where that certainly take up the slack on people applying for voc. To serve more people that apply for voc, so.
We do appreciate your comments, though, regarding vocational, because, I know that higher education is really fostered, and I promote higher education, but we also have to remember that not everybody is gonna go to college, so, keep vocational in mind on down the road. Thank you.
All right. If there are no further questions for Diane, we'll move on. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that brings us to the Tax Commission.
So I believe Sharon Swepston is unavailable, and she's sent Andy to be here
Andy's
instead.
here.
I don't know what's Andy.
And so the significant changes, as I mentioned earlier, the increase of $575,000 for the hunting and fishing licenses compact. And we expect additional vehicle registration revenues to be higher again in FY16. So, that's it. Questions?
Sharon wanted me to apologize for her not being able to be here. She had to schedule at the original date, then I think we changed the date and she couldn't get out of that. She's the brains behind it. I'm just a pretty face, so. Any questions you guys have, I'll be glad to try to answer them. I hope everybody's got their,
Did you say you were the pretty face or Lacey was?
Lacey's a pretty face in her department, I'm a pretty face in my department.
We go live with online renewals tomorrow?
Yes, that can be
Or
tomorrow, yes ma'am.
That's
Tomorrow,
exciting.
So,
Wow.
I'm sure we'll have a few glitches here and there, but nothing we can't overcome. We've been running test after test after test, everything on the front seems fine. If we have an issue, it'll probably be in the back with the processing. But it'll be something that Ben Phillips' group is on it, and they'll get on it quick, and I don't see any major issues at all. I'm pretty excited about it. So,
And then I had talked to you a few months ago about you were beginning to track the tow-in, tow-out time, how long it actually takes to get a tag. Are
Yes,
you
ma'am.
still on top of that and
yes, ma'am.
working towards that?
It should be in the next report.
Okay,
Give it some time, so next rules, we'll have a report that tells you the average in and out. It will be different for Tahlequah than it is, the Tahlequah's all we'll be able to see is because that's the only one where we have our sign in and sign out system. It's our sample system. Once it gets good and it seems like it's keeping the flow faster, we'll do it at our bigger offices. I don't know that we'll ever need one in a small office like Jay.
sure.
But Collinsville and Catoosa will probably be our next two to implement that.
Well, that would be good. Any other questions for Andy? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Not
I'm
a
sorry.
question, just a suggestion. I need a tag office in Ocean.
I know you do, sir, and I'm with you. If you get the powers to be to tell us to do that, we will do that.
If I send you a letter and sign the chief's name, would that be okay? You think
Yes, sir, as
that's-
long as I take it to him and he goes, yeah, that's not my signature, or looks like Mr. Lay's trying to pull another fast one.
How much stuff
But you can
have-
do it online now, so they don't have to drive too far.
How much stuff have you gotten that way?
I'm not telling.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you for being here and
Thank you,
reporting.
guys.
Okay, next up is the Election Commission, and Gail was working on some stuff for them.
I think you got it in the email.
How'd you get a printed copy? No, I asked her to print one for us. Okay, let's go ahead. Gail is working on printing some copies. I think we all were copied on an email during our break. But let's go ahead and go through this budget and see what we can figure out for them.
Well, good afternoon. You do have my budget there in front of you. The only change that I had emailed during the break was to clarify some wording in the significant changes paragraph. So basically the point is we do not have a special election budgeted in this budget. It was kind of confusing in that wording, so I tried to make it a little bit more clear. What you have before you is a bare bones budget for an off-election year to run our office.
Okay, and let me be clear, well, I've got both of you here. What we have on our 2016 budget was 850,000. But then did we reduce that by 100,000, treasurer?
Yes.
Okay, but Keely, you're saying you have to have the 850.
Yes, as far as I can see, every dollar amount is accounted for in some way or another.
Okay, so I know last year we had to amend your budget during the year and increase it. Is that a possibility to?
With what we have right now and what we're thinking about for the future, we don't see an amendment right now. The amendment that I think that you're referring to is when we purchased the majority of our machines. We tried to do that in two separate fiscal years so that we could spread out the costs a little bit better. Right now we have all the machines that we can see that we need for the next election or special election if needed. So right now we're not foreseeing any amendments.
Okay. And so this 850, it's probably in this narrative here exactly what that makes up, but can you tell me what is exactly the bare bones that requires 850? How many employees?
We have five
Five
employees.
employees?
So that covers our salaries and wages and fringe benefits right there. I guess the next item would be contract services greater than 5,000.
If you'll pause, if everyone will turn in their book 2, this will make this easier. Book 2, flip to the very back, small tab there, Election Commission under 24. And you can see exactly what she's reading off for you. And so for some of you new counselors, just so that I'm helping you to understand this budget form as we go along, the header is obviously the contact information, employee count next, and then the income received. So, these are going to be fees that the Election Commission draws in. And then down in Part 4 is their budgeted expenditures with the right columns being FY15 and then FY16. So it's a little bit different presentation than Jody's books, but I just wanted to clarify that for you as she goes down the accounts and speaks to those.
Okay, so, that big item there, the contract's greater than 5,000. We have several contracts, that are just, year-to-year expenses that we have to run our office. We have to have, our database system, Maxim, Hart, and CSA. CSA is, mostly for our mapping. And, then also in that line item would be contracts for commissioners and attorney. Is there anything else that needs a little bit more explanation?
Okay, so Lacey, what are our options on this budget here, for them?
Well, I can't speak to Robert's rules, so I don't know that process, but I can speak to the numbers. And, you know, if you want to go forward with Exhibit A as is and look to this budget as they spend later on in the year, you know, we can look at our other options based on spend, do
I
the
would
budget mod
recommend
later
that
on.
because we've already approved Exhibit A.
Yeah, you've already approved that, so I don't, that's where I'm out of my league there, but.
If that's okay with you, Treasurer, and we would, the wishes of the committee, we would do that.
Okay.
Obviously, we have to have the election commission, so, I think if we can do that, as far as the financial side of it, I think that's the thing to do. Does anybody have any questions for Keely?
Jody, you have a comment to that?
No, I think it would need to be a priority carryover, obviously, if they're looking at
Absolutely.
the budget at that time, you know, what the totals are.
Okay.
And I had asked for the details, she sent me the details on the contract services.
Okay,
So I'm okay with that.
We're good then. Okay.
Okay, any other questions here? All right, you're good, thank you, Keely.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're down to Cherokee Publications.
Good afternoon.
Hi. No real changes in this budget. You're just going to see a slight spin down of the Citizens Access to Transparency funding, which is the program that was initiated in fiscal year 2015, providing the one-year subscription to Cherokee households with good addresses. And so they implemented that in August, I believe, so you're going to see some spend of that, and then it'll carry forward in the next year, so that's the major change.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Brian? Yes, Harley?
Yeah, just a quick question, Brian, on your unexpended funds for 2015, why was this much left over? Am I missing something that you didn't?
What happened was a certain amount was allocated in the chief's budget for the citizens to access to transparency,
Okay.
but we didn't receive enough subscriptions to basically bring all that money down, and so there was a big chunk that was left over.
So that's what, okay. And so I see you just put it back into this budget this year, then. Okay.
And there won't be nearly that much left over in this fiscal year.
This year,
We're going to
okay.
take up quite a bit of that, if not all of it.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
Good.
Anything else? Okay, thank you for being here,
Thank you.
Karen. Okay, so that brings us to Indian Child Welfare.
So while Nikki's making it up here, you know, the Indian Child Welfare Department serves the children of our nation with their daily needs. An increase in funding authorization of $57,000 expected for family preservation support from DHHS is the only major change in this budget.
Say that again, Lacey.
So there's an increase in funding authorization of $57,000.
Okay.
So you'll see that's,
Yeah, I didn't hear.
AU 340-1100.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Nikki? Okay, no, we'll move on. So that is our last department. So we are going to take a short break unless there are some other questions for the treasurer before we take the break. I want everybody to be comfortable with the budget before we vote on it. We've had an opportunity to speak with each department, so I don't see why we can't come back and vote after this break.
Sounds good.
Come back at 10 till.
Yeah, be good.
All right.